I'm trying to keep it up.
Mhm. And no relaxer, right?
No relaxer.
Yeah, looks good. Okay, we're live. Let me check our app.
The app should be a few minutes behind. Looks like we are live on both.
Okay, great. Let's see.
Yes, we are. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Career Tip Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I
Happy
am
Tuesday.
you're one of your co-hosts, Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network. And then we have the amazing Makita Matthews, who's our co-host and also our chief network officer as well. So we are here to for another Career Tip Tuesday.
Yes, we are. If you are watching us, regardless of on LinkedIn or in the app, please let us know your name and where you are located. I know I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, and Sherry is down in Cincinnati, or up in Cincinnati, rather.
I guess I am up in yeah, I guess I
Up
am north. Mhm.
compared to Atlanta. Yeah.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to build resilience and maintain confidence in your career. And so I think this is a good topic to kind of maybe just revisit and remind ourselves. I know that 2 weeks ago when we were here before, we were talking about, kind of like this first quarter review and how things are going. So I guess this is kind of also gives you a way to think about, where you are now and specifically, what do you need to continue to focus on? Would you say, Makita, in terms of going into quarter two at the end of March?
Yep, absolutely. Because, things can change throughout the year, and we gotta, find ways to keep ourselves grounded and on track and maintaining kind of where we want to be. So it's a good way to kind of pause, reset, and
Mhm.
continue on.
Absolutely. And Jasmine's watching from Chicago. Who else is watching? Let us know where you are watching from. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Now, as we do that, we're going to go ahead and jump right into 5 ways to build resilience and maintain confidence in your career. So the first one is cultivate a growth mindset. How do you feel about this, Makita?
That is absolutely necessary. You cannot grow in your career without a growth mindset. But let's define what growth mindset means. Can you define that for a second, Cherry?
A growth mindset means that you're open to trying, well, first of all, uh, exploring your self awareness, what your strengths and weaknesses are, being open to try new things,
Hmm.
being coachable, I would say
Hmm.
too, right?
Hmm.
Being
That part
coachable
for
because
sure.
there could be someone who sees something in you that you don't see, whether it's positive or negative. Maybe the things that are positive, you need to visit and take a step of courage to really kind of move towards cultivating, or it could be something that could be impeding on you moving forward that you need to work on so you can excel.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
and being exploratory.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
I was quickly gonna say doing that assessment is so key. It
Mm,
is so key. Try and get one from your boss, your peer, somebody who maybe reports to you or maybe who's a little bit younger than you so that you can get that holistic sort of assessment. And then, if you're scared, if you are, if you're kind of hesitant or whatever, get out of your shell a little bit and kind of, you don't have to run, but maybe crawl or maybe walk to some of those things that are going to push you out of your comfort zone, that are going to push you to gain some new skills in the different areas. So always think about, okay, how can I grow in various different areas that either I need to grow in to be able to get to next, or to get yourself out of your comfort zone.
No, I like that when we think about the growth mindset. And I think when you're asking for feedback from peers or colleagues or leaders in your organization, it doesn't have to be formal. It could be just you saying, hey, I really am looking to grow and develop myself. And I really would like some honest, candid feedback about your perception, or be specific about what it is you want to know. It could be your communication style. It
Mhm.
could be your level of emotional intelligence. If you are wanting to know about something specific about yourself, be and ask those things specifically. And probably would be better to ask them something specific, because if you're looking for them to kind of give you a general overview of who you are or how they perceive you, they may not know how to craft that,
Yeah.
right? In a way that they feel they'll be comfortable with. So if you're giving them something specific that they can provide you feedback on, more than likely you'll get what you need
That's
from
right.
that.
That's
That's
right.
just would be my advice from that for
Right.
sure.
I agree. I
Absolutely.
agree. All
Okay.
right. So before we go to number two, if you have just joined us, remember we would love to know who you are. So put your name in the chat as well as where you are located.
All right. So the next one, number two, is develop a genuine support system. Can't
Yes.
stress enough about this one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so, so, so key. And it's not always those people who tell you what you want to hear. You need to, genuine means real. Genuine means authentic. Genuine means, some people who are not going to be afraid of really telling you how it is so that you can continue to grow and you can continue to um, develop. So I think the key word here is genuine.
Yeah, I think genuine is important because, and you have to ask for that too, right? And you want that real. And I say that it doesn't always have to be friends or close family, or close family and friends, or close friends too. It needs to be people that are peers or that maybe are from another group, because that gives you, they don't have anything invested in telling you the truth, right? They don't have
Mhm.
anything invested with not in hurting your feelings, or at least being genuinely supportive of you and not knowing, all the backstory. So I just think that, or diversify who it is. Maybe it's not all black females. Maybe you have different, just some diversity within the group of people that genuinely support you. So you have to decide on what that support system looks like, as long as like what Makita said, that it's genuine and it's
Mhm.
authentic. It really doesn't matter who's in it, male or female. It's just
Mhm.
about, or they, it's more about making sure that you have real people in your circle that that can be supportive,
That's
and
right.
that you could also give that back to as well, that is reciprocal.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yep. Let us know how you feel about that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Y'all let us know in the chat.
Yep. And then number three is learn from setbacks and failures. This one here is the big one.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It is. It is.
I can't even stress enough how much this one is important. And we're talking about building real resilience. This is where you're going to learn it,
Mhm.
right? The setbacks and failures, the roadblocks that you may come across at work. And it may not necessarily be a roadblock that's long term. It could be a miscommunication with the coworker. It
Mhm.
could be maybe you're not getting along with your boss.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it could be there's a project that you're trying to accomplish and you're coming across challenges and hurdles, or maybe everybody's not on board with getting things done. I mean, it could be anything that you're
Mhm.
coming across. And so this is something that really helps you to understand how to rise to the occasion
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
when it comes to understanding what setbacks and failures really mean, and how do you overcome those, and doing it in a way that is, I wouldn't say gracious, but you're being a champion about how you're going about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and even and don't be afraid that if you have a setback, that if the setback takes you have to take two steps backwards from the setback, it doesn't mean that being resilient and moving through it that you won't end up taking four steps forward
Mhm.
afterwards. So
Mhm.
you do have to be pretty positive when it comes to what you're looking for, and what's your outcome. What are you trying to accomplish?
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Kind of adopting that, okay, why did this happen? What am I supposed to be learning from this?
Hmm. Right. And then if you don't learn from it, what's the chances that you might repeat it again?
Mhm. Mhm. Right.
Right. So I think that's important too. All right. So Makita, what is a setback, or something you would consider a failure that you've overcome, and up to this point in your career, up to this stage in your career?
Yeah. I think I very, very, very early on in my career when I was still in finance, I struggled. I struggled.
Hmm.
I struggled with the work. I struggled with the people. And it went on too long, um, that other people started noticing it. Where I had a really good um, champion, a black woman who kind of set me inside and was like, "What, girl? What's going on?" And I had to be honest with her and myself that I don't like this work.
Yeah.
I don't like this work. And so the failure on my part was to not voice that um early on earlier, right? And so that kind of set me back because people thought that I wasn't a good performer. I was um maybe they thought I wasn't smart. I don't know, but definitely not a good performer. And that is not the case at all. I could not get down with what I was doing. I couldn't get down with the people. And being young in my career, I had the ability and the opportunity to explore some different areas, right? And so I should have just communicated that a lot earlier. So I think that that was definitely a failure on my part, but definitely a setback in how people perceived me. But once I got out of that space, flying, right? I just had to find something that I liked. But that goes to being an advocate for yourself and speaking up and being
Hmm.
honest with yourself and being honest
Hmm.
with the people that you're working with in HR and everything like that. But that not speaking up for myself and being honest was definitely a failure that set me back.
Yeah, I always say the silence in the workplace is not healthy. That you
Mhm,
you definitely have to speak up for yourself, and I know some people are afraid to do that because they're scared of retaliation. But I think it's required. It absolutely is required, for you to be able to push through those uncomfortable feelings,
mhm,
because you're going to come out on the other side of that empowered,
mhm,
more confident,
mhm,
more aware of
mhm.
opportunities and times when you're going to do it again,
Yep,
and be prepared for it. So I think that
yep.
was great.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that uh, I think that there are a lot of people in the workplace who we might have this perception that they don't want to help or they just want to see you fail. But I think that there are more people out there that want to help. And so if they're seeing, that you're having some problems or some performance issues or you're just not getting it and you express, "Hey, I don't like it," or "What's going on?" Just kinda thinking back about my situation, they'd be more than happy to help you move because guess what? They've got a job to do, they've got people to manage and to, to to help somebody get into a space where they can thrive and where they can be happy is something that I think more people more often want to do than not.
I agree with that for sure. Absolutely. Number four is embrace adaptability and flexibility, which we've kind of already talked about, right? In terms of just being open and being adaptable and flexible to the different environments and people,
Mhm,
not to the detriment of yourself or your values and how you show
mhm,
up,
mhm,
but being able to understand what it means to be adaptable and flexible for just for what you're trying to accomplish in your role, and the growth that you're trying to accomplish as well. How do you
that's
feel
right.
about that?
No, I completely agree. The world is always changing, the workplace is always changing, and you need to
Mhm.
always be changing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about staying in the same space, even if you say, "Hey, I want to be with this company for a long time," and that's nothing wrong with the longevity of being in one place, but
Mhm,
you do need to ensure that that you have a plan for your
mhm,
continuous growth, and
mhm,
that you're staying on top of the trends in your industry, and that you're keeping yourself marketable in those ways based on what is valuable in your industry in terms of marketability. So yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that, but just have a plan for what your growth will look like.
mhm.
And again, maintaining your resilience in the process and being confident in that role
That's
as
right.
well too.
That's right.
I think one of the lessons that I learned when it came to adaptability and flexibility was probably early in my career when it came to leadership and understanding what my real leadership style was. And then when it was time to start understanding how to play the game in politics, I just was highly resistant to wanting to be on board with that, but not understanding how that dynamic plays into this the everyday factor of what we do. So I was not being adaptable and flexible when it came to certain things, um, to in terms of what the workplace norms were, and I just didn't want to do it. And so and it cost me. It definitely cost me, in ways I didn't understand at the time. So when I think about embracing adaptability and flexibility, you also I have a saying where you always should pay attention to the people that you work with, because they have the power to shift and change the culture. And so it's important to pay attention to when you need to adapt and be flexible to that. Looks like you're on mute, Makita.
Yep, I was. I coughed and I didn't turn back on, so thank you. I really like what you said in hindsight, you saw that cost you. And
Hmm.
so what if we asked ourselves the questions a little bit earlier, what is this going to cost me? What could
Ooh,
this
I like
ne
that.
what could this cost me from a negative perspective, but what could this cost from a positive perspective as well? If I don't do this, what can happen? If I do this, what could happen? Right? And you mentioned having a plan. So what if you failed at your contingency, but what if you succeeded at the dream? Right? So
Hmm. I love
thinking
that.
about thinking about all of the spectrum of what could potentially happen and what, making this move or doing this or not doing this could cost you. Let's think about that. Oh, that's a March challenge for y'all.
I
Think
mean,
about that.
yes, I love that. What is it going to cost you? I mean, I think you might have set our challenge up for next month, Nikita, because I think that if we think about it, what is it going to cost you to do or not do it, right? It's going to cost you either way, but it's what do you want the outcome to be?
Mhm.
And what was the
Mhm.
part you said? You said contingent, but something else. I thought that was gold. We need to tweet that.
Um, this goes back to failing or not failing, but having a plan in place, right? And
Hmm.
thinking about what things are going to cost you. What if we failed at our contingency but succeeded at our
Yeah,
dreams?
yes. So for those of you who are listening, I like that because that means that you may have failed at the initial, this is the way you wanted it to go. It may not have went the way you wanted it to go. And
Mhm.
you probably had to take some detours to get there. The detours may not have felt good, probably were a little painful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you made the dream happen.
That's right.
So And I love that because what is it going to cost you? Because it may cost you less or it may cost you more, depending on how it all comes about. And again, it goes back to that being adaptable and flexible,
Mhm.
to do that. And I was driving on the way to work this morning, and I was talking to my daughter last night, and I said that you have to make decisions that are going to allow your life to catch up with who you are on the inside. And sometimes we make choices that really are not aligned with who we are. And so
Mhm.
it puts us until we're on these paths where we're completely unhappy. But then we're like, what are we doing about it? Well, you've got to make decisions that's going to get you in alignment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if your life isn't what it is supposed, if your life is not what you want it to be, then you have to make decisions to make it catch up with who you really want to be or who you are on the
Mhm.
inside, so they can be, so it can
Mhm.
show up that way.
Mhm.
And that's really
Mhm.
what that means, right?
Mhm. 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 And when you get into that alignment, y'all will be so much happier,
Hmm.
so much better, so much more empowered, so much more confident.
Which is a whole nother conversation, right? Talking about making those decisions to put you in alignment. Sometimes those decisions may cost you to get there,
Mhm. Yeah.
because there may be some things you have to leave behind
Mhm.
in order for you to get there.
That's right. That's right.
Jasmine said, I love that. Jasmine says, I love that. Absolutely. There's going to be some things you may. My mother has a saying, that she says sometimes you got to let go of some things in order to gain some things too.
That's right.
And
That's
so,
right.
I think that's probably a very wise thing to think about. And sometimes we just don't want to let go. We don't want to let go of that job because it's paying us six figures. We're
Mhm.
stressed out, and
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
don't like our boss. We can't stand our coworkers, or the workload's too heavy, or maybe you travel too much or whatever. But you won't let go, because of the salary. But is it costing you? Probably so.
Mhm. Mhm. That's
So
right.
you have to think about what that looks like. And I know we've got a couple minutes left, but I think we've got one more, right?
Yep,
We have
we
one
have
more.
one more.
Number 5.
Practicing self-compassion.
Hmm.
So important.
In other words,
Important.
don't be so hard on yourself, which is so hard to say, right? Practice what I know I got to practice that. I
Mhm.
do not practice self compassion. And I
Mhm.
need to, out of transparency, this is definitely what I need to be working on for
Mhm.
sure. You
Mhm.
know,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
it's not being too hard on ourselves for some of the decisions that we've made, that even cost us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. We I know a lot of us are probably what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like inv involuntarily going above and beyond and doing, shooting over the rainbows and the moons and the stars and everything, and kind of realizing we're the only ones that are putting this pressure on ourselves, right? And I know we wanna succeed, and we will succeed, but again, if we realize that it's so on our 5 things to do today, if I only got to 3, that's cool. That is okay. That's fine sometimes. You got work done, right? So
Hmm.
some of that is okay, and a part of practicing self-compassion is rewarding yourself and practicing self-care. Don't just, be out here doing all the work, doing this, doing that, excelling, and not taking time to reward yourself and to pause and to go get a massage or something that you want to do. Self care is a part of being compassionate to yourself.
Yeah, I think, because we're all gonna make decisions that, may not always turn out the way we intended. We
Mhm.
we may have situations that happen in the workplace or even in our lives that, just may not turn out the way we wanted them to, or it could just be, or circumstances beyond our control. So
Yeah.
we have to give ourselves grace for those things in time for us to even embrace adaptability and flexibility in those things, right? And but pivot and making sure that we are equipping ourselves with the things to get it back on track.
Mhm.
Or like Makita says, that the contingency plan didn't work, but you still were able to achieve the outcome you were looking for.
Mhm.
So give yourself grace for that, because if you're not giving up and you're resilient to push through, then that should be the fuel. That should be enough fuel for you to. So your life do the same thing mine does. It'll turn out. I have to be like,
Yeah, it does.
I'm
Okay,
like,
there we go.
mine do the same thing too. But you do have to give yourself. You absolutely have to give yourself grace and show. And if nothing else, show up for yourself.
That's
Jasmine says she would love to connect further. This is really aligned with what I need to hear in this journey. You're welcome, Jasmine.
yeah.
How are you
Connect with
keeping
us
that?
on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest. We also do have a BCWN app that you can find on Google Play or the Apple Store. Download it, introduce yourself to our community of what, 1,200
No,
now?
we're at it's not 1,700.
1,700. Wow, mind blown. Um, and Jasmine, we have these sort of conversations in the app all the time.
Yeah,
That
as a
is
matter
where
of
the
fact,
community is.
yeah, the women who are watching live, they're watching live now from our community inside of our app. So you can watch from there. So yeah, download our app from the App Store or Google Play Store, and get connected with us, Jasmine, within our app. Now, Career Tip Tuesday happens every other Tuesday at 12:15, 12:30. We give ourselves a little grace
Mhm.
in terms of the
That's
time
right.
that we start.
That's right.
Um, but if you do want to connect further, you absolutely can do that by by downloading our app and getting connected that way. I'm so
Mhm.
glad you tuned in today.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any other last words? Let's recap these five before we wrap it up for the day. Number one, cultivate a growth mindset. Number two, develop a genuine support system. You take number three, Makita.
Number 3 is learning from setbacks and failures. Number 4, we have embracing adaptability and flexibility. And lastly, number 5, practicing self-compassion.
Practicing self-compassion. Yep. And those of you who'll be watching this on the replay, you can connect with us at bcwnetwork.com. Get connected. Download our app from the Google Play Store or Apple Store and stay connected with us. But I think that's a wrap for today. I
Yeah,
think. Is
I
there
think
anything else
so.
we want to talk about? I don't know. I think that's it
Nope. Nope.
for now. All right. Well, again, we'll be back in 2 weeks with our next Career Tip Tuesday, and I think we are going to start a series for our next one too.
Mhm.
I think it's
Mhm.
the one about um, 10. I think it's the 10 choices that empower Black women's lives, and it's from a book from Dr. Cornish that we're going to go through those actual choices that Black women make to empower their lives. So join us on that journey as we go through each Career Tip Tuesday. We'll be talking
Mhm.
about two of those for
Mhm.
each time. So join us for that. If not, have an amazing rest of your week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye,
Alright. Bye,
everybody.
everyone.